Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In this video, we're going to be discussing none other than Gellert Grindelwald. Grindelwald terrorized the wizarding world for years, and he was one of the darkest and most powerful wizards of all time. While he does show up in the Deathly Hallows film, briefly, the first time we see him properly is on screen in the Fantastic Beasts films. Played by Johnny Depp, Grindelwald has quite an interesting look, and when the actor was preparing for the role, he's reported to have expressed that people kept asking him if he was okay. He has spiky pale blonde hair that shoots straight up, extremely pale milky-coloured skin, a blonde moustache half of the time, and perhaps most notable of all, two different coloured eyes. The condition of having two different coloured eyes also exists in the muggle world and is called Heterochromia. Heterochromia refers to a variation in colour, and when it refers to the eye specifically, it's called Heterochromia iridium. It basically means that one iris is a different colour from the other. But provided that the Harry Potter universe is a world rich with magic, I'm hoping there's more of an interesting explanation than that. Now, in my quest to figure out why on earth Grindelwald has different coloured eyes, I started to think about other characters that also have special traits in the ocular region. The first character that comes to mind when I think of wonky eyes is none other than Mad-Eye Moody. And the clue there that he has an unusual eye is in his name. It's in plain sight. From the Order of the Phoenix, Mad-Eye Moody, who had long grizzled grey hair and a large chunk missing from his nose, was squinting suspiciously at Harry through his mismatched eyes. One eye was small, dark and beady. The other large, round and electric blue. The magical eye could see through walls, doors, and the back of Moody's own head. Moody's eye definitely provides a certain level of shock value, but Moody didn't always have one magical eye. Once upon a time, Moody actually had two matching regular eyes, just like the rest of us. From the Goblet of Fire, Mad-Eye Moody was sitting there, though there was a very noticeable difference in his appearance. He did not have his magical eye, but two normal ones. However, Moody's magical eye, though quite functional, definitely doesn't appear to resemble an ordinary eye in any way. It sort of looks like a botched job, and given that Moody got his magical eye many years after Grindelwald's time, I can't imagine that Grindelwald's eye is artificial in any way. It looks too natural, and while I didn't think that it was artificial anyway, it's good to cross that option off the list. One theory that I have for Grindelwald's multicolored eyes is that it is somehow linked to him being a seer. In Harry Potter, a seer, as defined in the magical world, is a gifted wizard or witch who has the ability to see into the future with their inner eye. Seers predict prophecies, which are then recorded and stored in the Hall of Prophecy in the Ministry of Magic's Department of Mysteries. When we hear seer, we most commonly think of Professor Sybil Trelawney, a British half-blood witch that worked at Hogwarts and came from a long line of seers. She famously predicted the prophecy concerning Voldemort, and the one with the power to vanquish him. And though she gets a bad rap as a seer, she has actually been proven to be quite accurate. Minerva McGonagall was quite open about her skepticism surrounding Trelawney and her abilities as a seer, and once expressed that true seers are extremely rare. By true, I think she means seers that are able to see visions intentionally, when they want to, rather than in the sporadic way that Trelawney functions. And it just so happens that Grindelwald could do this. From the Fantastic Beasts screenplay, Grindelwald exhales vapor from a glowing skull-shaped hookah. His acolytes watch as the smoke forms a vision of the Obscurus, a swirl of black and flashing red, then resolves into an image of Credence. So what does being a seer have to do with Grindelwald's eyes? Well, we know that when Trelawney has visions, on occasion, her eyes have a tendency to do some crazy things, and since vision relates to sight, I feel that it's only natural that visions would be connected to the eyes in some way. To me, it would make sense that you'd have an ordinary set of eyes for ordinary things, and when a vision comes through, your eyes would adjust accordingly, as you are no longer focused on the things in the physical world before you, but rather focused on the ethereal aspects of your vision. This is not a confirmed thing, just a theory of mine, but I think that it bears some merit. As Grindelwald is certainly more of a seer in the traditional sense than Trelawney, I think that it would make sense that, of the two of them, he would be the one with unusual eyes. My next theory for Grindelwald's different eye colours is that each eye is representative of one aspect of his personality. He had 2 different coloured eyes because he wasn't all evil. One represented his dark side, and the other represented his light side. Unlike Voldemort, Grindelwald had a certain element of humanity surrounding his character. He was capable of things like love and empathy, and so it sort of makes sense that this division of character would manifest itself in the form of 2 different coloured eyes, each representing one side of himself. And though I feel as though each eye represents one aspect of his personality, I think that the eye colour itself has an inverse relationship with the characteristic that it is meant to represent. His brown eye, which is darker than the other, represents the side of Grindelwald with more humanity, and in contrast, his light eye, which is visibly more jarring, represents the darker side of Grindelwald. Grindelwald began experimenting with dark magic at a very young age, and was even expelled because of it. He tyrannized both the wizarding and muggle worlds, and did some truly terrible things, but from his perspective, it was all for the greater good. For the greater good was a slogan that Grindelwald adopted at the beginning of his regime. He developed the expression with Dumbledore, and it was meant to say, hey, in the end, this will all work out for everyone, but for now, expect some chaos. However, Grindelwald used his slogan to justify some truly horrific actions. It was engraved on the entrance of Nermengard, and it quickly became more of a symbol of hate than anything else. He truly believed that his actions would be of eventual benefit to everyone, which is why I don't think that Grindelwald was pure evil, only very disillusioned. He simply wanted wizards to rule over muggles. Witches and wizards were his people, and he felt that they should be in power. It's as simple as that. The more you deep dive into Grindelwald's character, the more it seems to make sense that his contrasting emotions would be manifested in his physical appearance in some way. Furthermore, experimenting with dark magic has been proven to alter your physical appearance, as we've seen with Voldemort. And though Grindelwald didn't create a Horcrux, he is said to have experimented with some twisted magic, so I can see how this might have affected him physically. We haven't yet received a proper explanation for Grindelwald's different eye colours, which means that we can only speculate. However, the following interview with Johnny Depp, who plays Grindelwald, does help to give us some clarification. Referring to Depp's character, Grindelwald, he is asked the following. He now has, as one of your co-stars referred to, a scary eye. One eye rather different from the other. Does that have a backstory? Is that just creepy? To which he responds, it's a character choice. I saw Grindelwald as more than one, if you know what I mean. I almost felt like he's maybe 2 people. He's twins in one body. So a gamey eye is more like the other side of him. Sort of like a brain for each eye. An albino twin, and he's somewhere in the middle. What this confirms is that his eyes are connected to the internal duality of his character. We don't have any further information on how this was actually achieved, but perhaps we'll get some answers in the upcoming Fantastic Beasts films, of which 3 are still on the way. And that's it for this video. If you guys enjoy the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, you're a wizard, Harry.